number 15, another data question. Which choice best describes data from the table that support the researcher's claim? So we're looking for something from the table that supports their claim. First, we need to know what their claim is, right? So these people recently examined several plots, a diverse plant community in southeastern Spain. The researchers calculated that if individual plants were randomly distributed on this particular landscape, only about 15% would be with other plants in patches of vegetation. They counted the number of juvenile plants of 5 species growing in patches of vegetation, the number growing alone on bare ground, and compared those numbers what would be expected if the plants were randomly distributed. Based on the results, they claim that plants of these species that grow in close proximity to the other plants gain an advantage at the early development stage. So we're saying that in this particular landscape, if they were randomly distributed, only about 15% would be with other plants, but these plants were closer to 50 to 59% found in patches of vegetation, which means they'd be with other plants. So let's see what we want to do here. A, for all 5 species, less than 75% of juvenile plants were growing in patches of vegetation. So this is a good trick answer, right? That is correct according to the chart, right? But I'm not sure that really supports their claim about these particular plants that they're mentioning here, right? So we'll leave that one, but I don't think that's correct. Species with the greatest number of juvenile plants growing in patches of vegetation was H. stotechus. That's not true, and it also doesn't support anything. For T. levantis and whatever, the percentage of juvenile plants growing in patches of vegetation was less than what would be expected if plants were randomly distributed. Well, no, they were saying it would be only about, if they were randomly distributed, there would only be about 15%. So this is actually greater, so that's wrong. For each species, the percent of juvenile plants growing in patches of vegetation was substantially higher than it would have been if they were randomly distributed, which does comport with the graph and also supports the student's claim here. So it would be choice D. All right, let's get into number 16.